I've started to develop feelings for my son, and I'm at a complete loss as to what to do. I had my son when I was quite young. All through his life, we've been extremely close, bound by a connection that was almost too intense. Because of the significant age gap between him and his younger siblings, he took on a big role. He helped raise them right alongside us. When my husband died, I turned to my son for support within our family. After all, he was now the man of the house. I wasn't jobless or anything, but I desperately needed him around the house. More than that, I needed him on an emotional level. It was like I was drowning in a sea of grief and loneliness, and he was my only lifeline. Soon after my husband passed away and we'd mostly finished grieving, I began asking my son to cuddle with me in my bed. I was so starved for human touch, for someone to be right there beside me, to hold me tight and sleep with me. Before long, an almost palpable tension started to build between us. It was like a thick fog that you could almost touch, filling the space whenever we were together. When we'd talk about our day, we'd sit so close that it was almost as if there was an invisible force pulling us together. And then, during one of those times, we leaned in towards each other and embraced. There were a few moments that were so awkward they seemed to stretch on for an eternity. After that, things took a more serious turn. In the months that followed, we got used to a lot of rather inappropriate behavior. We were both in such desperate need of emotional and physical comfort that we found it in each other. Oh, yes, we also caught each other getting a bit carried away during this time too. Since we were now sharing a room completely, there was no escaping the growing intensity between us. The tension between us had reached a fever pitch at this point. It was like a volcano about to erupt. So, I decided to take matters into my own hands. Late at night, when we usually have our heart-to-heart talks and just hang out, I sat down with my son. I brought up the topic of taking our relationship to a more sexual level, but I had no idea what he was going to say next. Conclusion: this is a deeply disturbing and immoral story. The relationship between the mother and son has crossed all boundaries of what is acceptable in society. It shows how a situation of extreme emotional vulnerability can lead people down a very wrong path. What would you, as a reader, suggest should be done in such a situation? How could they extricate themselves from this complex and unethical situation?